pilot projects. There are no full-time projects which are implemented for the entire urban area. So the case study which I took is the municipality came with an idea to implement EcoSun for the entire urban area. So that's the starting point of the master thesis, to identify, okay, since it is not implemented for an entire urban area, if it is implemented, what will be the prospects of implementing ecological sanitation in terms of social, economical, and environmental, and what are the technical constraints, political constraints that might happen during implementation. So this is a bit important for me. I'm sorry for this slide, but I have to keep it because it's from GTSAT. The whole presentation is divided into 4 parts, where the part 1 deals with the introduction, giving a general overview of what's going on, the urbanization trends and prospects, the scale of urban sanitation problem, what exactly do we mean by ecological sanitation, and what is the interrelation of ecological sanitation to sustainable urban development. And in part 2, I will go much deeper into finding the research methodology, the case study introduction, and the study area analysis. The part 3 defines the preliminary ideas that were developed by me to implement ecological sanitation for the entire urban area, and the prospects and the constraints that I thought might occur in the future, and the conclusions. 2007, according to UN Habitat, World Urbanization Projects is a landmark in the history of mankind. It's because the study says that for the first time in the history, more number of people will be staying in urban areas than rural areas. So this is 2007. That's where the population of urban areas increased the population of rural areas. So here are some of the facts of urbanization. So from 2000 to 2030, the world's urban population is projected to grow at an average annual rate of 1.8%, which is almost double the average growth rate of the entire world population. And 6 countries in Africa and Asia alone contribute almost half of 75 million people who are born every year. And by 2015, it is expected that there will be 23 cities with a population over 10 million. Well, I told about 6 countries in Africa and Asia. Let's have a glance at the urbanization prospects there. From 1940 to 2020, we can see there's a huge increase in the urban population in Asia, whereas the growth in Asia, Latin America, Africa, Latin America are steady, but still they're increasing at a pace. So since there will be more number of people staying in urban areas than rural areas, it is quite imperative that urban areas now and in the coming future will absorb most of the Earth's natural resources, despite the fact that urban areas act as regional economic centers. So there is a clash between dynamics of urban economics versus dependence on natural resources. The immediate impact which we can see as a result to urbanization is informal settlements. 1 in every 6 people who are alive in the world today, they live in informal settlements, in slum areas. So the slum population is 1 billion worldwide, and 600 million of them stay in urban settlements. So amongst all the other immediate impacts of urbanization, sanitation is one of them. So if you ask why sanitation is so important, the goal of sanitation is to protect public health by collecting and treating human excreta. So there are 2 types of sanitation. We call it on-site sanitation and off-site sanitation. On-site sanitation is sanitation itself, like, for example, traditional pit latrines, where the feces and the urine drop out. That has both on-site and off-site sanitation has their own drawbacks, because a traditional pit latrine spoils the groundwater, whereas off-site sanitation is very expensive. Where experts say that 60% of the total income which we have for the sanitation project goes for piping for off-site sanitation. So here are some of the sanitation facts taken from Waterfall Life Ticket from United Nations. They say that 90% of the sewerage and 70% of the industrial waste in developing countries are discharged into nearby water bodies without any treatment. So it's not just about environment concern, but as a result there's 2.6 billion people who don't have access to sanitation. And 2.2 million people die every year due to water or sanitation related issues. So it's not just about toilets, it's a serious issue. So, and 42,000 people, and the most worst part is 90% of the people, of these 42,000 people who die every day are children who are below 5 years of age. Well, as I told before, sanitation has failed in the past days. It's because this picture explains why. It's because we have the rainwater, and the rainwater goes for the food production, the food is consumed by the people in the local areas. So there's a misuse of drinking water for transport, and 90% is left untreated to the water bodies. And the 10% goes as sewage sludge, and a little bit of water is used for agricultural purposes. So, United Nations came with an idea to set a target by 2015, so-called Millennium Development Goals. So the sanitation target is to curtail the number of people who don't have access to basic sanitation by 50%. So let's see what's going on. What is the interrelation of MDGs and the scale of urban sanitation problem? So the lack of toilets, individual or community toilets, is forcing the people, is compelling the people to go for open defecation. And drainage system or waste collection refuse, human waste fills in open areas. And as a result, what we can see is environment pollution. So poor people are forced to collect water where they can find in areas where they don't have any municipal water supply. So it's the cause for the water related disease. And lack of local financial technical capacities to meet the sanitation needs of the current situation, of the current population. Well, at the same time, there is every day a huge flow of population from the rural communities to the urban areas. So this situation is like a vicious circle of poor sanitation, and the result is what we can see in most of the slums. So this picture is from Dharavi slum in India. We can see children who are defecating openly on open drainage. Coming back to the Millennium Development Goals, that picture is taken from the Joint Monitoring Program of WHO and UNICEF. It says so they have collected this data to identify the areas who are on the track, not on the track. They are insufficient data, progress but insufficient. So it says that South Asia and Africa are not on track. They are not on track to meet the Millennium Development Sanitation Goal. But the pity is that these areas are the only areas who are going to be more urban population in the coming future. So they already lack sanitation, and then every day there are a huge flow of population into these areas. Well, if the increase in sanitation coverage stay as low as between 1990 and 2002, the world will fall short of MDG target of sanitation by 500 million people. And an additional 82,000 people have to be served every day in India itself to meet the MDG sanitation target. The political economy of defecation is very interesting, which was, this definition is from Sunita Narayan. She is the director of Center for Environment Services in India. She says that since local people can't afford to pay for the sanitation project, the government usually subsidizes the project. But the fact is that it's not the poor who are getting benefited out of the subsidized sanitation projects, but it's the rich, because poor already lack municipal services. So it's just like encouraging the rich to use more and more water. Well, ecological sanitation says that human urine is very rich in terms of nitrogen, potassium and phosphorus, and human feces is very rich in phosphorus. Both can be reused in agriculture. So the basic question is, if urine and feces can be reused, why do you flush 10 liters of fresh water every time we go to the toilet? This fresh water, by using very simple technologies, cost-effective technologies, can be preserved for the future generations. So what's ecological sanitation? It's not just one specific technology. There's a general misconception that ecological